are some of your favorite chills moments for various stadiums you've been to? Example, when the snare drum starts as the corps walks the team in at Kyle Field. I got some for you. One of them was an actual moment, but a lot of these are just generic events. So I got to take you back to 2017. Clearly, if this is shot from the iJosh, by the way, I was on the field for the ending of that 2017 National Championship game with Tua to Devontae Smith, and it's a walk-off between two teams in my market, because I was in Columbus, Georgia at the time. It's up the road in Atlanta. It's like a dream scenario for people who, if you grew up on the Chattahoochee River, which quite literally divides those two states, Alabama and Georgia, you can't ever draw it up any better. Oh, and by the way, you're standing on the field and you've got your iJosh in your hand, and I started recording and just hopped in the dog pile. How professional is that, by the way? You're there, you're wearing a professional media credential, and your first instinct is to scream, turn your phone on, in that order, and jump in the dog pile. Fortunately, as far as I know, no broadcast feed footage exists of that ratchet activity on my part. And we did get some good footage out of it on our end. So that night speaks for itself. But then some other things that do it for me. Now, everyone gets chills in their own unique way, but week one kickoffs, I don't really care where I am. Think about what this time of year is. We got 100 whatever days we have until kickoff. And you're going through spring, then you have your spring game, then you know you've got to go through May and June, and you just got to do whatever you can to survive as a college football fan, because eventually you'll get to July, at which case you get to take a time out for Independence Day, and then you know you got media days coming up. And after media days, it's like a couple of weeks until the pads start popping and fall camp opens. We're good. We're already on the downhill slide by that point. But there's so much talking that happens. And everyone has every one of their expectations mapped out. And you've gone through preview magazine season, and you've gone through talking season, and you've gone through prediction season. But that final countdown, when they tee it up, and wherever you are in week one, whether you're sitting at home, whether you're in the stadium, whether you're blessed like we are and you get to be on the field, that last 30 seconds or so, when those teams start to come out on the field and they tee it up, and boom, that whistle blows and toe meets leather and the season is underway. That'll get me. I don't care where I am. That'll get me. Another thing, you could pick any team. I picked Alabama because we haven't shown this team entrance. You could pick any team. Team entrances, we talked about Virginia Tech several times over the past month. The reason I picked Bama is because I've been at a number of their games, and I'll go down to the end zone where they take the field. So what they do is sort of pro wrestling-ish in its own right. They'll come out of their locker room, and they're walking down a tunnel to the entrance to the field, and they do kind of a trail camera shot where, if you're in the stadium, you've seen this before in Bryant-Denny Stadium. You got Nick Saban. He comes out. He does that menacing walk down the tunnel. You got a camera following him the whole way. Thunderstruck by AC/DC is playing over the loudspeakers. And if you're on the field where I am, you can kind of see up the tunnel. But if you're in section 338, you're just watching on the Jumbotron, and it's literally like Goldberg when he used to walk from his locker room out to the stadium. It's the same field. And then there they are, and they emerge from the tunnel. It's that element, and you also have the added bonus of knowing, also, I just happen to be witnessing the greatest of all time. So there's that. But team entrances all over the country will do it for me. Here's another one that maybe you think of, maybe you don't. Team stadium arrivals, I love. It was referenced in the actual question. When you get to a stadium early, I get there 3 hours early, you got about an hour before business really picks up, as good friend of the program Jim Ross would say. You're standing there. Stadium's empty, it's not open to the fans yet, and there's that first faint sound of police sirens, which means team arrivals are imminent. And they're coming, and then they pull up, and if you're on the road, you got hostility. If you're at home, you got jubilation, and you're walking through a sea of humanity that is in friendly colors. But from that point forward, it's game on. And that last little moment between the time that your ears first catch that hint of a police siren to the time they pull in, that's when you take your last few deep breaths, and then you know, hey, you only got 12 of them, and one of them's about to go down. You wait your whole year for it. I love that moment. And also rivalry games in general. Try and get to as many of them as I can. Been to the Iron Bowl several times. Got to go to OU, Texas this past year. But I'll tell you, being at Michigan Stadium, being at the Big House in the snow, no less, and watching Michigan break the streak that Ohio State had been running up on them. Being able to witness that in the same year that we saw that Red River Shootout Classic, that never gets old. And the build-up to those games and the environments never get old. So rivalry games, stadium arrivals, team entrances, week one kickoffs, classic national championship games, those are some of the chills moments for me. Now, I think the comment section is going to light up for this question. So I'll be interested to know your submissions on this, because I'm sure there are some really obvious ones that I just left off for whatever reason.